All right. Let's get rolling. Hey, welcome everybody. It's January 27th, Thursday. It's 12 p.m. if you're in Central Time Zone, which Mario is. Steven's with us. He's an hour later. Steven always feels a little bit ahead of the game. I wonder why that is. But Aaditya is here, and so is Deepayan. So we've got a number of things to cover. It's been a while since we've met. I think all of you have been on the call before. There might be a couple of more joining, in part because it's been a while since we've met. We should take a moment to review where we've been. Like take a moment to review if we didn't have some action items from the last few meetings. So let's do that. I'll drop my name in here. So there were, last time it was actually a great use of the time. Mario, I think, if I recall, Mario was running through some notes on local deployment of Meshery under different circumstances, kind of using kind or using Minikube, and then exposing the services and kind of load balance, just the various, the too many ways that you can configure Kubernetes and the too many ways that you can deploy Meshery. And then, and I think we took a note to potentially update the contributor guide to the extent, or some of the deployment guides to the extent that there were learnings. This might jog your memory, Mario. Did you recall if there were particular takeaways?
Well, the biggest takeaway was that for the simplest setup, to use the Docker desktop Kubernetes. So yeah, maybe like just suggest the simplest setup, and in case there's other kind of setups, just like maybe we should try not to document everything because we're kind of like adding more things we need to keep updated. Instead, like just maybe reference people to how to like other links where those steps are described, but just maybe.
No, yeah, actually, there's something that some contributors have had a little bit of a difficult time drawing a line on in the past of like, hey, we might say if you're on Windows, use WSL2. And then some contributors will want to describe WSL2 and how to turn it on. It's like, wait. We should just put a link to
put a link, right? That'd be our motto. Put a link.
Yeah. We need to have kind of like the dry acronym. We need to have another like put a pat, keep dry, do some padding. So, but just to reflect on your experience and the notion that like if the quick start guide draws it, it's kind of, called out onto its own as a single page that there's probably a lot of links pointing to it to say, this is how to quickly get going.
Maybe a troubleshooting section and just provide some links, like really most common things, like some people members have encountered, and try to be like just add a link to whatever that solution is. Okay, there's one.
Yeah, no, but
did you jump?
I did. I jumped. It is
but
not.
That's for Meshery itself, not for the Kubernetes connection, right? Or
right. That guide was entitled "Troubleshooting Meshery Installations," which seems highly relevant. Seems like exactly what you were saying is like, hey, if there's common snafu, common pitfalls, we should probably list those. And to the extent that there's many, at least having a link to this page from the quick start makes a lot of sense to me. Take a note.
Yep. I can take notes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And for others on the call, like there's an easy contribution there. If you want to put a link to this page from the quick start, that would be great. Okay, so that was one topic from last time. We've been discussing the test plan, so that's on the agenda. This is probably not something to get into now, but part of that test plan is an understanding of our test strategy. And actually, Stephen in the past has helped provide templated test plans, spreadsheets, in the way that you would track these, the way that you account for your actors and your systems, the desired outcome, the actual outcome, all these things. Those are helpful. Those are reflected to a certain degree in the test plan, in the way that the test plan spreadsheet is kind of laid out. There's some of those same columns. What component is under test? I know this is kind of small font, but what component is under test? On what platform you're testing that? It's sort of like on what OS are you running that? In this case, it's what platform, Docker or Kubernetes. But to kind of go through each of those. So part of the goal most recently has been the automation of each of these test cases. There's quite a few that are automated. Navendu was trying to lead this charge in the past. And Mario, again, this might be an area where you end up expanding part of your focus past. Not that your focus is constrained to Cypress, but you might end up stretching into some of these other areas because we've taken really good strides. And then one of those strides in terms of integration tests and how they are automated and how they're run and how many we're running, how many unit tests and these things. And one of those has been, maybe I'll jump forward here and say that one of those has been with respect to the compatibility matrix, like publishing of the current state of the build. What's the historical state of tests that were run on the stable release? What's the current state of tests that have just been run on the edge release? Because the edge release is really it's happening all the time for different components. And so Aaditya, since you're on and you've been working in this area, do you want to share on your latest work and kind of what the matrix describes now?
So not much change since yesterday, although I was trying to apply the date filter for sorting, which you suggested, but I don't think that would be possible. I tried many ways and finally found we have to create a plugins, but after creating a plugins too, exactly the sort did not happen as expected. So I think we have to change the date thing in the actual integration test only.
Okay, sure, and that's no problem. Or
yeah, that would be a better step now, because if we do that, it will be for a long run. It will be good for the long run also, not just for a plugin thing.
Yeah. Okay, and then just to make sure that DPon and everybody else is aware, every time that there's a pull request merged for any Meshery component, the edge release for that component is updated. There are artifacts built and artifacts released, and so if you're on the edge release, if you're subscribed to that release channel, that's what you'll get that build. The state of integration tests, the outcome of those integration tests, each time that a PR is merged, is published. The output of those tests is centralized and published, updated inside of this page here, inside of Meshery docs. So actually, if we look at, so Aaditya, I don't know if I think you're going to be sort of, I think that's one of the problems that's the problem you were talking about, is sorting by time. So
yeah. So right now it is sorting by the alphabetically the day. So like Wednesday comes at the top because we are doing it reverse. Wednesday, then Tuesday, Thursday.
This is so yeah. I bet there's an open PR on this now to fix these broken test cases. But anyway, that's the state of those tests. The state of the system is that it's self-documenting. We're centralizing those results. Aaditya, curious, as you're updating this page to consolidate the list here such that there's just a single, there's basically 2 entries per component. So 1 entry for Meshery Istio on edge and 1 entry for Meshery Istio on stable. Inside there, you're putting a link to the historical test results.
Yes. Yeah.
Did that, and then you're publishing that as a separate page. Did that require the addition of changes in the Jekyll config, like changes to that collection?
For now, I've just made 1 page for the Istio thing, and I'm not like replicate for all the page, but I don't think we have to change anything in the config file. But I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so of what you've written right now, it works for 1 component.
Yeah, it works for 1 component now because that was just for the demo yesterday.
Okay.
So if I like replicate for all the adapters, and then if something error arises, then maybe we have to change config file. But till now, I don't think that's the need.
Okay, and that makes, yeah, actually, now that I think of it, that makes sense that it doesn't require one. Okay. So that's good. So then what we want to do over time is grow the types of integration tests being run such that they get a bit deeper and deeper.
Oh, okay. The test results field will be more point, like we'll have more points in there.
Yeah, because like as an example, the ones that we're seeing here is that, yes, it confirmed that Meshery's Istio adapter was able to deploy Istio and Istio's kind of 3 core components. It looks like we're missing results for the 2 add-ons, 2 optional components. These are good tests, but we want to further those tests by, like, actually, it's one of the things we wanted to talk with Hersh about is you taking advantage of a service mesh pattern that might be complex in nature, using that to deploy. And that way we get quite a bit of functionality flexed or tested in one shot. So maybe Hersh will watch this later. So I'll explain that a little bit more to say that, like, if we were to take a common pattern, like a pattern that might describe the Istio's sample app book info and its configuration, which would include a virtual service, destination rules, like a deeper configuration of Istio. And then since we're also able to generate load and run a performance test in that same workflow, in that same GitHub workflow, we can then also say, not only did Istio's components deploy, so did an application, so did it onboard an application, which then configures various aspects of Istio. And then so too was the application responsive, and here's how it performed. And that's not much work. The reason being is because there are already GitHub actions for running a performance test. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that sort of touches on this other topic about a GitHub action for patterns. All right, so right now, I think I'm not sure, there's like 5 GitHub actions that we have, but 2 of them specifically focused on for users to use Meshery and integrate Meshery into their pipelines. So one of them is for SMI conformance testing. Okay. The other one is for SMP, service mesh performance testing. And that can be helpful in these integration tests that we were just talking about. There's a third one or another one proposed, and it's a GitHub action for service mesh patterns. The GitHub action, the reason that we would need like 3 for Meshery is really just all about convenience. It's like, is the user trying to verify performance of their workload, you know, each time that they're making a new release of their app? Great. Then there's a curated and opinionated GitHub action for doing a performance test. Is the user, are they trying to, I don't know, facilitate a circuit breaker or facilitate, you know, some other configuration and want to apply a pattern and see how it behaves? Then an action like this would really help. But I guess even though I opened this one, actually, even though I did, I'm not entirely convinced that another one is necessary. Maybe. So these tests that are run here, I believe that they're already run using a pattern file. Like, so we should go look at these, because I think, Mario, one of the questions that you had, I think recently, was about running an adapter in a workflow. And so this will help answer that as well. So if we go to the Meshery Istio adapter as an example, and take a look at its workflows. Component generator.
Probably the test Istio adapter on the left side.
This one was 2 months ago. This one was recent. So take a look at the workflow here. This file is called workflows ete tests.yaml. So, okay. So it kicks off when people open a pull request or a merge to master. Set pattern file for service mesh install. So it seems like it might be using Meshery CTL's pattern file. So there it does use this, it does deploy using this pattern file. So there's a pattern file name. Guess I was just looking for the Meshery CTL, or if Meshery CTL was being used. I don't know that it is.
I think it invoked another workflow, but it's in the prior lines after, yeah, testing. Okay, so you're in line 46, and then it's using this other workflow that's called workflows test adapters. So it's passing different stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'd say that's the place where the adapter would be set, right? Because
yeah, which actually, yeah, I guess this makes sense that because that same workflow is
reused.
Yeah, okay.
So test adapters in the bottom. Yep. there.
All right, so it expects these values from the workflow that we were just looking at. Okay.
The color. Mm.
It does sets up Minikube.
Build Docker image, set up Meshery config. So then this is
Deploys Meshery with Meshery CTO.
and then starting the adapter, test image dep curl, deployment URL, YQ.
Oh, okay, cool. So this is kind of what I was looking for. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here actually, but in some respects, if we are evaluating whether or not we need another GitHub action for patterns specifically, here's an example of how someone can do this today. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that GitHub action isn't the best suggestion because it's such a short.
It's less, it'd be just like a shorthand for the other command to get the Meshery itself, right?
Yeah, I don't know that it's action worthy. Like you could point people to a short workflow that they could reuse. But I wonder how helpful a whole nother action on top of that would be.
Yeah. I think people just want like a shorthand for like just invoking a GitHub action that, you just pass inputs to it and that's it, right? But not sure if that's what they would want, because they would still have to provide their own, like this is this for end users, right? Or not?
Yeah.
They would still have to provide their own Meshery instance.
Right. This one probably does need a little more thought. I had doubts when opening it. Yeah, because most of the environment configuration, like you can describe all that inside of your pattern file. And so,
is anyone requesting this specifically?
no,
We need more input.
Yeah, no, yeah, we need more input. I think where it might be helpful is if someone has a pattern file that they would like to see deployed, they'd like to test that the configuration works or run some load against it. That an action that deploys Kubernetes Meshery and then applies a pattern file, that could be helpful. I just don't know that there's enough merit or enough ask behind it to really go spend the time there. Instead, we might want to spend time telling people about the GitHub action for performance and kind of leaning into that one. That GitHub action for service mesh performance, that's about to be used in the CNCF's cluster. There's an Intel engineer there's a few people inside of Service Mesh Performance Project that are going to be running those tests inside there. So we had a meeting about that. I think Aaditya, you were on that meeting as well. So we're actually just pending access to the cluster.
The CNCF one?
Yeah.
No, I just saw the minutes, but I could not attend that. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. I forget if it was, okay. And so anyway, the point is, yeah, maybe I'll make a note with Hersh to maybe put this on hold, maybe redirect him to that other effort with the service mesh performance action. And then maybe he can jump in and assist with those tests and using that cluster. So follow up. Do we have other things that we want to talk about today? Mario, I don't recall if you ended up merging part of your PR partway through, or if we're still...
That was the intent. But I to be honest, I gave a bit more priority to like getting the what's it called? The adapter setup. You know, it was failing, so I was really like worried it could be like that there's an actual bug in there. But I'm not sure if we can go to the issue itself. I think that Abby suggested to just like try with a simpler pattern file, but I don't know. It was some of the, I just took it from a sample file. So putting the user hat on, I'd be like, well, yeah, maybe it should be working, right? So, or why not, you know? But we could reconsider. Let me just think I have that open somewhere. Yep, that's the one. If we go to the last set of answers, comments. Try the simpler pattern. But I don't know. But then again, I guess that what I could do is just comment the lines for those failing tests, like as we had. Yeah,
Right.
if you go to the bottom, it shows 500 somewhere, like maybe not that low. It just look for 500. Control F, maybe. Yeah, it's there. So yeah, maybe I can just comment those two tests for now, and then create an issue to work on these.
Right. Yeah, or even if. Yep, totally.
But I did follow the like updating the Go version. It was causing issues during the there's a prior step in there to just start the adapter, right? Now it's not throwing that meshkit error, but I don't know, since the problem here, well, maybe not the problem. The difference is here, we're starting from source. So it's not like the user would just download the script to install and just pass the flag over to like, there's a flag the user would specify to say what adapter the user wants, right? To be enabled. But then over here, I'm not sure how I would pass that.
In here, are you using, there's probably two ways. Like if you're just looking to deploy one adapter.
Just the Meshery still, it's right there. Like the line above run Meshery still.
Oh, I see. So you're saying, hey, instead of building the adapter, just
I know we need to do this. We just need to pass a flag so that Meshery knows it's there, I think. Because
yeah.
Or well, I would need to debug this locally and see if like there's something else causing the 500. Again, the file I took for those pattern and application deployments, it's just the latest from the examples that were suggested on the issue. So,
and do you know, did you know, does that sample pattern work if you're running Meshery locally? Like,
That's what I need to take a look at. Would you like us to take a look at the
Yeah,
files
yeah.
right there?
yeah, I think that's a good use of the time. Actually, I think it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But my Docker Kubernetes might take some time. So
sure. Yeah. Let me.
but thanks.
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring it up briefly. So hopefully this is legible. So I just I'm in the Meshery repo, my local Meshery clone on master. I've just pulled the latest stuff. The way that my system. Anyway, I'll build Meshery. While that's building, I'll go over and grab
the files. Yeah, there should be in the branch.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'll also spin up a copy of the Istio adapter from Meshery.
Mm-hmm.
So just run those two guys, and then then you're saying the sample pattern file is
it should be. Could you go to the files of the PR? Just grab some of them until we get to the Cypress fixtures folder. Okay. That's one. The one is the Istio filter pattern.
okay. Okay, and then
So that's
there,
one.
Okay, is there not? Okay,
It's failing. Yeah, these two are failing.
Oh, okay. So this one looks okay. Good. This one is even more complex. So let's start.
Okay.
We'll start with this one.
Yeah, both are failing, so you can choose whichever you prefer.
Nice. Okay. So here's so I'll just save
put
this.
in a YAML. Yep. Sounds good.
Save this locally. So into .yaml. Into my downloads folder. So go back. All right, so the Istio adapter is up. It looks like it registered with the Meshery server. Good. And the Meshery server instance is up. So we'll go over log in. And let me make this a little bigger. So good, my Kubernetes is there. My Istio adapter is there. If I can get Zoom stuff out of the way.
Okay, so one question: Would you run the Meshery server first and then run the? Does it make any difference?
Slightly. When a Meshery adapter spins up, it will attempt to connect to Meshery server, and if the server isn't available, then it will skip a beat. It'll back off and say, oh, I think it's for a period of. It used to be 10 minutes. I think we set it to 30, but for a period like some 10 to 30 minutes, it will back off and retry. It doesn't sit there and do it like it backs off and retries more slowly and more slowly over time. There's some random algorithm that's used to, so it shouldn't be an issue. Like it's
okay. It should be there. It's just something else failing then.
Yeah, right. Like actually, it's actually it's kind of a good proof point. If I were to kill this, so let's say I'm killing Meshery server. Meshery server is now dead, and then here's my Meshery Istio instance that I ran. It had connected, and now it's just running by itself. It's that's interesting. Actually, let's do two tests. So the first one is let's just run the adapter. And it spins up here in a minute. It compiles and spin up.
But you're using make run, and the suggested steps were go run main go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So then maybe that's a difference in the.
Let's see.
But let us proceed.
Okay. By the way, it might be the case that like while that is technically true that those two commands are different, it might be the case that the make run itself of the actual command executed. So here's the command that's executed is it turns on debug, or it sets a couple of environment variables, debug to true, go proxy to direct, go sum db. But then here's the command that actually run, or which is go run main go. And is that the one that you're using?
Okay. It's go run may go, and then there's an ampersand. And then it says the next line is sleep 60.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I hate sleeps. If that is
me too.
Like, I'm not sure. Okay.
Because I don't see the logs, the run log don't show like output similar to yours. So that's what's making me think it's misconfigured.
So here is so I just ran the Istio adapter again. So it's the adapter. Oh, there's another misspelling. Anyway, the adapter is listening on port 10,000. It is attempting to register the latest components, attempting to register static workloads, components available statically for this version already. Like it already knows how to talk to the latest version of Istio, so it's not going to like regenerate those components. But then what it doesn't say is registered with Meshery server, because the server is not running. So I'm going to run it now. In the time that we've been talking, it's probably been a minute to 2 minutes of this having been built, and it initially having tried to connect but couldn't because the server wasn't running. The server is still compiling. If I was better at split screen. So the server is starting to so the server is up now. If I refresh my screen here, the server is up. The adapter.
Yeah, the chip is in a different color, so it means it's in the front end.
There we go. So it just like these lines are new as of the. So it did. I mean, like, you know,
it's registered. Okay.
Yeah. So it came back. So like, yeah, if the timing is slightly off, it shouldn't be an issue that you're. Okay. And so now we wanted to verify that. Let's just take a quick look at the state of my local cluster. So I'm running Docker desktop. So I've got a Linkerd instance that's failing, but other than that, it's just the Meshery operator and a blank Kubernetes. So we said that we want to verify that our pattern file of choice is working. So we'll upload a pattern, put it in downloads, book info pattern, commit. Okay, so we've got book info pattern, and we're just gonna, okay, so assuming that it's all good to go, you know, like the next action that you're taking inside the workflow is just to deploy. So we'll just hit deploy here. Failed to deploy pattern of workload type gateway.istio. So if we look at the pattern itself, one of the components that it's trying to deploy is a component called gateway.istio. Wow, the search doesn't work in here. Or in sample app gateway. So on line 231, type gateway istio. Okay. So I guess the question is, like, have there been changes in the pattern engine that would have affected that? So one way of troubleshooting should be that we can go to this REST API. This is something I've been asking for better documentation on, and there's an open PR on this right now of like, hey, what are those APIs? How can I?
Also, we're following HeyTOS, or like self-descripting.
Uh,
Like that endpoint just returns like just metadata, right?
Yeah, just XML. Yeah, just XML or JSON or JSON of describing the basically.
API?
Yeah, basically, actually, as soon as I get it figured out what API I should call, it would be what it should return is that when I ran the Istio, the Meshery adapter for Istio, it would have generated, or it would have already had previously generated various workloads, various components that describe how to manage Istio, and it would take and register those workloads, register those components with Meshery server. And so if I go to Meshery server and say, hey, give me a list of all, basically I'm just saying, I'm just
the
kind
components.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just checking the work, so to speak. Like, hey, give me the list of, so in concept, all right. So this is a really great set of discussions. Going further down the rabbit hole. So there's an open pull request that helps document adding examples in Swagger docs. So this helps document this set of APIs, because normally what everyone should be able to immediately do is say that if you do want to go interrogate Meshery's APIs, you'd go to Meshery docs. You'd go to one place would be these references, this reference guide. So this is the REST, the documentation for the REST APIs. If I wanted to look at those workloads that have been registered, then I should be able to get them. And what I was asking for is better example calls that people can make. This is actually really helpful, I think, for a lot of people, a lot of folks, but Mario in specific, like, hey, okay, so if I go to /API/OM and then I put a type, it might, so that either being workload, so API OM workload, API OM workload in concept. So, okay. So it does give it back. It is JSON. I don't have a JSON reader here, and actually it's a ton of JSON. So it's still coming back. And this is actually why I wanted to
Expose.
Get more specific. I wanted to ask for I think I was just guessing at what it would be. So REST API.
You try Meshery workload adapter, or is that not?
Go back to that. So here, this is the updated docs. Example. Okay, wait. Okay. Example. OM workload application. Application. Yeah, still kind of waiting for this question to be answered, which is let me bear with me 1 minute.
Yeah, but maybe meanwhile, could we run the file and see if it's giving you a 500 as well? If not, then I would just go back and debug the setup. Yeah, the YAML file though for the pattern.
So I did, when I ran it, it did throw an error back saying that it couldn't understand what.
Oh, okay. I never realized that. Sorry, I must have.
Yeah, let's do it again though. So I imported it here. This actually needs, this is bad. It
Okay,
needs to say,
so okay, and if you open your network, is it a 500 as well, or if it's a different one, maybe could be experiencing. Can you try deploying that now, please? Okay, it's a 500. Okay.
but yeah, but this does most likely this points to the fact that Meshery's pattern engine has advanced in the time that this particular YAML file was like, it should just be.
So there's a breaking change in the pattern format, like some kind of like the interface, which is like specific keywords are no longer valid, and then so that's right.
Yep, right, exactly. Like, yeah, specific, and the one that it's complaining about right now is this one, gateway.istio, and that's actually, so that's why I wanted to go check on
on the definition for the adapter. So that is the only way, like, so what you want to do is get data so we can update this YAML, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way, right? Just to introspect into that endpoint?
No, there's like 3 other ways. There's quite a few. Yeah. So
what would be the easier way? Let's say we're just an end user and we want to make this work.
Yeah, I think this is
useful.
Well,
or the contrary.
No, very useful. I was going to say, I think it's very useful. I think we might stumble. So let's see. So a couple of ways to do it is to just build this pattern ourselves. The pattern is just using Meshery, the Istio's sample application. So one way of doing that is to go import that sample application, which I'm not sure if which someone might have pulled that in already. So if we go, look, I wasn't sure that this was a thing. I didn't know that we had this. So I mean, I think this is an issue, right, unto its own. The notion that you can't edit an application.
Sorry, come again.
Right. So we should be able to go build the app ourselves. And when I go to edit it, the UI starts to crunch. I'm guessing what's happening here is it's trying to grab all the workloads, all the definition of all the workloads, and that's probably causing it to crash. So
just a question on setting up the adapter locally. If the Go proxy, I think it's a flag, Go proxy direct and go sum db equals off, if they're not specified, would that make any difference for, like, let's say for CI/CD or?
In the case of the 500 for the pattern file failing, that won't make a difference. It can make it, but yeah, sometimes it can make a difference. Like when
should we run? So then should we get any adapter and just run make run, like just execute make run instead?
Probably
just as a fail safe, so that we can, like, even in case certain adapters require a specific stuff, we just reuse whatever's in the make file, right?
Even if it was it's still just a great practice anyway, because it's just like
compatibility, like
exactly. Like what you're testing is what you're building and releasing is exactly what you're building and testing, and so
okay, makes sense. Thank you.
There is a UI bug here where this applications interface is supposed to let you configure your app just like you would configure your pattern. It is, I think it's killing itself. Like it's probably trying to load up all the JSON descriptions for how to configure Istio, and it's just
It's running out of memory.
Yeah. So that's an item that I'm going to file and follow up on.
Oh, okay, cool. So exit.
But-
What
so that's-
about this other one? Maybe this is not that critical as that one. Could you just select more than one in the checkboxes and then, oh,
So this is, I honestly, I don't know what's inside of this one that I just checked. So it might not even be a valid app. This one,
but if you checkbox a couple and then try to delete one, could you select a couple?
actually, just before, just to verify, let me refresh just to.
It just went away, you see? Just do that again. And just when you click on the delete one, you get a prompt and they'll disappear momentarily. You see? Like even if you would cancel that,
Oh,
like they disappeared from the UI before even you prompted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's try that again. Okay. So let's take this one. So Meshery generated pattern file. Let's say that we're going to delete it.
It's not there anymore. And if you click no, it'll be back. So it's not that. It's just funny.
It's getting a little ahead of the game, or getting a little jumping the gun. I mean, it didn't delete it, but yeah.
But it just make it disappear momentarily. So it's kind of like it.
Actually, imagine if you're like, oh no, I didn't want to delete it, and then you don't see it. Oh no.
You'll be scared, right? And it would go back. So
now, okay. So here's some. So this, I have no idea what's inside this. Okay. Oh no, here it is. This is another example. This is probably the same sample. This is probably the same pattern file as the one that we're getting the 500 on for Istio Gateway. If I take and try to deploy it from here,
would it fail?
Yeah, I think.
But now for a different reason. So
yeah, and it's basically I think it's
other
the
version.
Same. Yeah, I think it ends up. It's basically, I think it's the same issue. It's just that this one's getting to a different object first, rather than so. Yeah, the fact that the schema, the definitions of these components might have recently changed. This is something that we need to follow through on quickly. This is also
start versioning the schema, maybe.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Start versioning the schema. Start. Yeah, the thing about we should version the schema. I also suspect that won't, or it would take a little while. That would be helpful. I think there's some pre-analysis that the system is capable of. We have an endpoint where you can say, verify before I have a bad user experience, just verify for me that in fact any of these are deployable, that the engine is capable of, has all the necessary,
like a dry run or
yeah, exactly, a validate, and then if that's the case, disable the deployment button, so that, because it's not going to succeed anyway, but let people edit them and work through them. So those are good notes. Let's take some of these notes, because
that's great, because we could use it in some pre-commit hook. Not sure if could be scenarios where the user decides to version control his pattern files. He'd like something to do that check for them before deploying them.
Totally. Yeah, and they definitely will. They'll definitely want to version their. I mean, there's a difference between the version of the pattern file format, and then the versions that they might keep of their own patterns. But in both cases, people are going to want to version.
Yeah. So in case they make a change, it's like it conforms to the latest version of the schema.
Yeah, exactly. So we got one issue here. I'll go file unable to edit applications, because we're probably not paging all of the component JSON that we're pulling. So that's probably an issue. I mean, that is an issue, and that's probably the problem. pattern most available, most previously written pattern examples are running into basically a conflict missing component type definitions. The example being like, oh, I see that you wanted to deploy an Istio gateway. I don't know what that is. It's basically what Meshery server is responding back saying, like, I don't
get you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's what he's Meshery saying.
Both of these things should be quickly resolvable. Like,
sure. So then the pattern file that I used, I should not change that. It's just wait for the schema to be updated, right?
Yeah, I don't think that it's possible that the pattern file might need to be updated because
okay.
Because we permanently but I couldn't tell you what it needs to be
until that research, like looking into it. But at least we have the file that, like a couple of files that are causing the issues. So I'm just going to, again, comment out those lines on the tests. The files will remain, they will be part of the main branch, but those tests will not trigger. So then I'll create a separate issue to work on, like make them, like uncomment them and ensure they work once we have that functional again, like.
Right. Yeah, that's a great, like another thing that we should be able to, there's like 3 or 4 different ways that we should be able to go create these patterns. Like one is to come in here and say, oh, we'd like to build out this applications, the applications book info, and to go through here and say, well, it'll have to describe, so it'll have the product page, basically re-describe the other way to do this is to go take the literal book info pattern manifest, import it here. This is actually, this is exactly the kind of things that we need to be running through before we do the .6 release. So actually, Mario, if I could leave you or DP on or anyone else with this particular manual test to do, that would be to go grab the book info sample app, the URL, or download it, to import it here, and then try to deploy it.
But the book info, is it the one I have in the branch?
Yeah, it would be like if
it's also failing.
Okay. Yeah, if you do, if you get Istio, if you download Istio, in the package that's downloaded, there should be a manifest file for the book info sample app.
Oh, okay, so then it's not the pattern file we have in the samples.
Right.
It is.
Right. It's just their.
It's like their own version of YAML files. Like.
Yeah. Okay. It's actually just a Kubernetes manifest file, regular Kubernetes.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Okay.
And so let me put a link to this. Yeah, you'd be able to grab, like if you download the bundle, it'll just be in your local file system, or it's also published.
Just in GitHub, right? Or
yeah, it's also published in their GitHub. So
okay.
Put this.
Oh, that's book info. Just a sec.
So Aaditya and Deepian and Stephen, like this is a great test that you guys could do as well, just as users. Just guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I mean, there's a couple, you can either download Istio and get it or go direct to there. And so I recognize that's a great homework assignment, maybe like we're just over time.
Mm-hmm.
But this is core functionality for .6. So like, yeah, we should, and this will help like, this will help begin to verify. I mean, this is just a great verification test.
So should we run that or should we automate that? Like, what's the scope and when should we have this done?
Yeah. So
Can we
this,
put a date on this?
yeah, definitely. These first two, they should be done really quick, very quick, like within a day that we should get these two bugs fixed. This one, it is it's an interesting thing. Like we can just manually test this as users, but the workflow that we were looking at before,
Mm-hmm.
where those integration tests that are going on, like the Meshery Istio adapter, one of those integration tests, I thought it was getting into deploying the book info app. Like, yeah, yes, because the deployment of this app should be a common test that's run all the time. So Aaditya, actually, I don't know if you remember from the compatibility matrix, are we running this test? So if we look at, so here we're not deploying the sample app, but that's exactly, oh, okay, that was back in early. Yeah, okay, but we should be, all we're deploying right now is Istio's components. We should take this is exactly what we were talking about before. We should take a next step and deploy a workload on top, and using Istio's sample app is a perfect thing to do. So I'm gonna write up this as well. But so yeah, so these two really quickly, this one like early next week, or like I don't know, maybe we'll have it done for tomorrow, but because yeah, we need to be able, the integration tests need to be able to run that. So like as part of the Cypress test that you've written, you would end up, a test that you would do is to import an application and click deploy and have it deployed. And so, yeah. In this case, this particular application, just the raw application itself, it doesn't actually require Istio. Like no part of this necessary. It doesn't need Istio running for it to deploy. It's just a regular Kubernetes app. So even if the Istio adapter isn't, the Meshery adapter for Istio isn't running, you can still just import this as an app and tell Meshery server to deploy it. So that too should be working. Actually, I mean,
So then want to make sure I'm following. So for this test, when we import the regular Kubernetes YAML manifest YAML file, should we import it right over here? You're just doing it right now. Okay.
Yeah. Application file name field is not present or invalid. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is another bug. Like
So you just did the test you asked about.
Yeah.
Okay, it was faster said than done.
Yeah. Which is so I think the folks, the contributors that have done this are confused as to yeah, anyway, they're confused. So that needs to be clarified that. So an invalid application name, okay, invalid application file. Name field is either not present or invalid. It's interesting. If I save this YAML locally, and instead of doing the remote import, I was to do a local upload, it basically should end up invoking the same functionality in Meshery. So yeah, name field is either not present or is not valid. Application file. Yeah, interesting. It's interesting. Why is this showing? Yeah, if we were to put this YAML directly into an existing app, so we're to update this app. Yeah, okay, so same. Okay, this is good. I mean, the consistency is good. Wants a name field. So let's look at this again. So name, see this field right here, the very first one? Name, if we paste the rest of the regular Kubernetes manifest in here, but leave a name of
So this is a workaround, but it shouldn't be necessary, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this name field is not, okay. So let's see, let's test the hypothesis. Okay, so let's refresh just to make sure we're looking at, so this is the pattern. So we gave it a name and then we manually pasted in the rest.
What about I'm sorry, just the spaces after the, so this is top level, but YAML usually has a couple of spaces. I'm not sure if it would matter, like the rest of the line should have those spaces added, or
No, right. Yeah, you are right.
Let's try it. Let's just try it as it is, and then
these spaces are meaningful.
Even for the other ones, right? Because they're all part of that. Like there's a hierarchy. So, but I might be wrong. Not in this case, but usually that's how tools work.
Yeah,
that's how they parse the YAML. It's really obnoxious, hate that, but that's how they usually work. You could just try it and see if it works.
Nice. So I did just click deploy.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
missed that.
But we can do it again as well. Okay.
Then it worked, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's see.
So in the UI, I don't believe that I got
any failure.
Yeah, I didn't get a failure, but I also didn't get a success message.
Okay.
And so, okay, so here's getting a response. So, okay, that's not telling. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it again. Map string.
Can you what? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's empty.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's empty. It's
okay. Okay. Could you see what's the response being returned, like in the network console? So let's try that again. Pay closer attention. I think it's recording. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just recording the requests. So it's a 200, but let's see the content. I think the front end isn't even, no, try again, but not over the, just click over the name. Double, twice. What's the payload?
Oops.
Oh, let's go back. The payload should be, oh, is it there? No.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, failed to retrieve application. Can you click on the payload tab? It's right besides the headers in the central, there. Okay, so it is sending the content. So you see all your changes. Okay, looks like they're there.
Yeah.
But then if you go at response, it says, it said something like not found. Oh, it didn't reply with anything.
Well, or nothing here. It did.
Yeah, in the console. Can you try the console tab on the top? That might be unrelated.
Let's see.
Yep.
So the UI doesn't, and the server does. It does say that there is this. Message.
That's the one I saw. So so it's failing to retrieve application from remote provider.
Oh,
right.
Well, so that's actually unrelated. I think.
It's unrelated. Okay.
So I'll.
More space. Okay, but then so it's just not doing anything, right?
It's putting this out, which is not informative.
It's not informative.
And then all the rest of these are from MeshSync, just to how it's updating.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's no console log.
But then are the pods there or not?
Yeah, no, I don't think that they are. Let's see. Yeah.
Nope. Oh yeah, other pods are there, but not the ones we expect.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. So there's
then okay, we need to get this fixed for V6 as well.
Yeah. It's
okay. I was writing up a bug for the pattern examples. So let me just send it. Just submit it. And I'll just add it to the notes. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Hope that's okay. I'll add a screenshot or two.
Yeah. Working. Nice. Yeah, we do need probably a bug hunt. I mean, we do need, like, this session is really helpful because we just, not only does everyone learn how to debug better, but so too do we help improve the quality of the project.
Totally.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop recording and point some of the contributors to the stuff that we just went over, because they can see the recording as well. So.